Hello hunters to another episode of Monster Field Guide, where I catalog the monsters from Monster Hunter World.
While I'm not excited for the several showers I'll have to take after this expedition, I'm excited to talk about another apex monster,
Odogaron. Odogaron brings a new classification of monster, the fanged wyvern. Much like brute wyverns, they lack wings, but unlike them are quadrupedal in terms of how they move around. As always, let's learn about that name. Odogaron comes from two root words. First, it's odos, ancient Greek word meaning fang or tooth. It's the other word where we start to get into its design origins. The second word is garu, a Japanese word meaning hungry wolf. And while I could just call it a day, I mean it does look like a wolf, and boy does it sure have odos, several in fact. I believe that there's another inspiration that tells us much more about its design origins, biology, and ecology. Given its slender frame and uber aggression, I believe that it's a monster that's based on the Mustelidae family, a family including ferrets, stoats, and weasels. Mentioning weasels, let's talk about different mythological inspirations that will allow me to talk about Odogaron's coolest features. This is the Kama Itachi, a weasel yokai with literal sickles for hands that craves nothing but violence and causes whirlwinds of death and pain. And that's exactly what Odogaron is. I mean, look at its claws. Odogaron's hands can be looked at in two parts. First, the four smaller claws attached to the knuckles. It uses these claws to traverse its surroundings and is virtually silent when walking. However, since these claws are always out, they are more dull, reflecting animals like the wolf or even the cheetah. The second are 6 digits at the bottom of each toe with claws that are serrated to inflict maximum damage and maim its target. They can retract and bend to fit between the 4 digits, almost like it's holding its own hand. Aww. Now we can finally get to the environment that Odogaron calls home, and we can learn why it's such a all the time. This is the Rotten Vale, a region filled to the brim with death and decay. Bones and carrion are literally found everywhere in this environment, so much so that it's hard to know where the actual earthen floor is. Like foreshadowed in last week's episode, this is why the Coral Highlands is the way that they are, because they're literally on top of each other. The bodies that die in the Rotten Vale turn into nutrients that feed the Coral Highlands, and the gases that it releases becomes the upwinds and drafts of the Coral Highlands. It's here where Odogaron thrives. It is the apex predator of this region and patrols the lower floors of the Vale, utilizing tunnels to traverse the environment quickly. Odogaron often scavenges carrion it finds and brings it back to its den, letting it almost age like a jerky. Or if it's lucky, it might stumble upon a creature who recently died and fell from the Coral Highlands. Lastly, the development team wanted to create Odogaron because they believed it would be a very interesting change to see such a small monster be an apex predator, one that relies on aggression and fast combos rather than large, powerful moves. It's an absolute blast to hunt and one of my favorite monsters. That's all the time we have for this expedition. Join me next time as we tackle the Horned Wyvern and Lord of the Deserts, Diablos.